Incendium computers for the real world.
This presentation is an analysis of the first 6 quarters of this business venture into the microcomputer industry. The cumulative total performance and cumulative financial performance show that overall Incendium's performance is the best in the industry. We are the industry leader in areas such as cumulative wealth, human resources management, and overall market performance. However, the data shows that the areas for improvement should be asset management and investment in the future. The last quarter was particularly significant to Incendium's gains because the team decided to target the travel market segment and introduce two new products. This development saw a massive boost in sales and demand, thus continuing Incendium's growth and expansion.
Marketing.
Incendium's cumulative market performance score was very strong, which is indicative of the vast total demand. It also reflects the company's dominance of market share in the overall market as well as in each individual market segment. The score was, however, adjusted down due to the stockouts in nearly every quarter. This is because stockouts waste resources used in creating demand and also ill will due to consumers not being able to purchase the products. In the future, demand forecasts will need to be closer to actual demand in order to have better returns on investment in marketing. Incendium's impressive score in cumulative marketing effectiveness shows that the needs of consumers have been very well satisfied. This can likely be attributed to two things: keeping up on the latest market research and analyzing competitors' strategies. This is indicated by the high quality of brands which Incendium has created. However, there is still much room for improvement in the quality of advertisements which the company is disseminating, as is shown by the ad copy judgments. Incendium likely fell short in this area because of the lesser investments made in advertising as compared to competitors who clearly had much larger investments. Furthermore, customer satisfaction was also very high for Incendium's products, as is shown by the large demand in both channels of distribution, likely due to the high level of attention paid to consumer needs when developing new products. The Incendium pricing policy was also appreciated by the consumers, as is illustrated by the high-scoring price judgments for all of our brands in their respective market segment.
Finances.
Cumulative financial performance was the highest in the market by a very large margin. Quarter 6 was the greatest contributor to Incendium's effective financial performance, more than double the next highest contributing quarter. Thus, a conclusion can be drawn that the decisions made during Quarter 6 were particularly effective and ought to be heeded in the near future. The consistently increasing market size and demand likely also contributed to the steady increase in revenues. The net profit, whilst having a few lows when large investments were made in business operations, had an overall upward trend, indicating Incendium's flourishing financial position. Whilst Incendium is not an industry leader in investments in the future, we still have a very high score. The executive was somewhat hesitant to make large investments, as this is very risky and results in large negative profits in the short term. However, Incendium must invest a reasonable amount in order to remain competitive in the future. The scores show that Incendium is the industry leader in using stockholder investment to create wealth. The score indicates that stockholders are seeing increasing returns on their investment. Essentially, Incendium is proving itself to be a company worthy of investment. Incendium's cumulative financial risk score of 0.953 is a very good score because it illustrates not only the executive team's ability to manage debt, but also the ability to balance debt over time. In the most recent quarter, Incendium had no debt. However, this is not necessarily a good thing, because there may need to be greater investment in the future, as was aforementioned.
Operational performance.
The cumulative human resources management score is a reflection of how productive Incendium's workers were. A score of 0.873 significantly exceeds the market average and is also considered by industry to be a very good score. Much of Incendium's excellent overall performance can be attributed to the recruitment of the labour market's best employees. This was done by constantly re-evaluating which aspects of compensation were the most important to workers. Incendium provided premium compensation packages which exceeded those of the competitors, thereby appealing to the best workers and motivating them when hired, as is demonstrated by the factory worker productivity of 97%. The manufacturing productivity score is a measure of how much of the operating capacity is actually used in production versus the portion lost to excess capacity. Incendium's score of 0.931 is well above the industry average and reflects a very productive manufacturing operation. This outstanding performance was due to effective forecasting and production scheduling, thereby greatly reducing the risk of excess production. Furthermore, there was also no excess stock, suggesting a profitable use of manufacturing. However, there was some lost sales, thus demand projections need to be better predicted. That said, Incendium has not actually reached operating capacity. Thus, there is room for extra production to meet demands and plan for the future. Incendium's score in cumulative asset management was very average. To increase the score, the firm's strategies in the use of its asset and capital need to be reassessed in order to create more sales revenue and increase asset turnover. Over the past 6 quarters, there were 2 main declines in return on assets and return on capital, and these were understandably when investments were made in expanding manufacturing capacity. However, Incendium's returns show an overall upward trend. Asset turnover is also increasing, despite a slowdown in quarters 2 to 4. In the future, Incendium hopes to create sales which are 2 to 3 times the value of the assets. Over time, as Incendium grows and the economies of scale increase, the firm will have a higher asset turnover rate without compromising our pricing strategy. To conclude, over the last 6 quarters, Incendium has evolved into a reputable company and has established itself as the leader of the microcomputer industry worldwide. And whilst there is still progress to be made, the leading trend for Incendium is upwards.